Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be answering a series of questions regarding horse riding in Belize, especially for beginners. So we're going to start with our first question.
A lot of our guests have never been on a horse in their lives, and riding through the jungle sounds a bit intimidating. What do you say to someone who is nervous about their lack of experience?
Great question. You are right to be a little anxious about riding a large animal. Let's be clear about that. And without a doubt, you need to be aware that this creature is bigger and stronger than you. Having said that, the vast majority of times, as long as you follow instructions and follow the correct safety procedures, you should be fine. Now, what those procedures are, how well you're able to follow them, is a matter that the wrangler and the guide obviously have to help you with. And this is where it's very, very important to listen carefully, particularly to the briefing. Invariably, for example, here at St Leonard's, we will invariably give a briefing before anybody gets on a horse, whether you're new to riding or an experienced rider who has 20 years riding experience. We will always give a briefing because it is very important to understand how you're going to get on, stay on, and guide your horse while you're riding. Now, that's just one aspect of it. There are other aspects that are very important. We will also do our best to match a mellower, a calmer horse to a new or less experienced rider. And so those are things that you need to keep in mind when we're trying to decide, when you're trying to decide whether to go riding either in Belize or in fact anywhere around the world. Always keep in mind, it's a large, powerful animal, and therefore you need to be prepared for that. But as long as you follow the safety guidelines, you master the briefing as best you can, and remain calm and confident. That's another critical thing. Horses have like a sixth sense, and they can sometimes read when you're perhaps a little more anxious. If you remain, however, calm, they will pick that up. Additionally, one of the things we do here at St. Leonard's, particularly for people who are a little more anxious or who are particularly young, such as children from the age around about 4 or 5, we will invariably have somebody lead the horse, either on foot or on horse, lead the horse for the other person until they are confident enough to ride on their own. So rest assured that we have many people who are new to riding, and invariably they will soon settle into their ride without too much of a concern. So hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, now there are other aspects to riding that, especially in the jungle, that are a little different from perhaps riding in the high plains of the United States, for example. There are two things to keep in mind. One more important than the other. Number one, the sun. As you can see today, a bright sunny day, the sun is everywhere. And so we really encourage everybody to keep that in mind. And therefore, to try and overcome these challenges that the sun poses, we recommend long sleeves, ideally a hat, something like this as well, that has a nice wide brim and also protects your neck at the back. That's especially important for when you're riding to the site of Shunantunich and you're going to get off the horse, because while you are on the horse, you will be using a helmet. And we'll come back to this at a later point in time. Another very important factor is always make sure you're applying plenty of sunblock at the beginning, halfway through, and at the end. And it should be kind of sunblock that offers a high degree of protection. So something of 50 or more, rather than something that's maybe just 10 or 15. The other thing to keep in mind is you need to ideally also wear long pants. Now, yes, it will help with chafing in your thighs, but More importantly, it helps protect you from the sun, because the sun is something that's omnipresent here, even on overcast days. And one thing you want to avoid is getting sunburn. Another very important thing, this is for some people more than others, and that is the bugs. Now, some seasons there are very few bugs, and some seasons there are a few more. And mosquitoes can be a little bit of a bother, but they're less of a concern than the sun, simply because they're not omnipresent. And again, if you're wearing long sleeves, long pants, that invariably will help a great deal with having to deal with the bugs. So those are the things to keep in mind. Another kind of really important thing to keep in mind, though, is the level of your physical agility. You need to be able to get on and off a horse without anybody necessarily being there to help you. Now, we will provide some assistance, but ultimately, we ideally want people to get on and off a horse unaided. So that's the ideal that we're looking for. So that should answer the question for people who are perhaps a little anxious, who have perhaps not ridden a horse before. That's how we address it here. Hope that helps.